Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merrill Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us as we talk all things faith, family, and fitness. A special thanks to Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency for their support of Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community one family at a time. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. Hey, this is Merrill Hutchinson coming to you today, and I'm here with my lovely Linda. How are you, Linda?
I'm good, but just keep talking because I'm trying to get my caffeine in.
Oh, man, you've been looking for that caffeine all morning. What's going on?
Well, I led workout, and I have not had my caffeine, which probably does not go with our health and fitness conversation.
Are you telling me you're not going to be on your game today?
No, I'm doing it. Just keep talking, and I'll just keep drinking.
I got an IV set up. Mm-hmm. We'll get you plugged in and ready to roll.
That's what I need.
Well, yeah, that is an appropriate topic because today we are going to talk a little bit about health and fitness. So
is caffeine in there?
We can talk a little bit about caffeine.
Okay.
So part of Rock Solid Families is the component of fitness. So we faith, family, fitness, and now we actually even do talk finance occasionally as we have a supporter that helps us with that. But today we're going to just dedicate some conversation towards fitness and health and wellness. And a big reason for that is, if you're not healthy, if you're not feeling right, it really colors so many other parts of your life, especially your faith and your family. And I mean, especially, we've talked before, one of my greatest compassions are for people who suffer from chronic pain.
Oh, we were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah, just like the idea. I mean, I'm a wimp that even when I have a little pain, it kind of owns me. And I can't imagine somebody with chronic back pain or whatever. So we're going to take some time to talk about, okay, so we've got this one vessel, this one body, and what do we do in the fitness and health world? How can we get started? We're still in the beginning of the year. I've already seen people drop off the New Year's resolution.
I have some
fitness.
People who are trying to get back on.
Yeah,
I had one text me.
They dropped. They started. They dropped off, and now they're trying to get back on.
I had one text me last night asking me if we were having class this morning, and I was like, "Sure, we are." And you could just see the ugh. The ugh was very long in the text, like And I said, "We'll be kind. We'll be gentle."
Yeah.
Getting back on that horse is hard after the holidays.
It is. I mean, once you break the momentum, it's like, man. So we're even talking a little bit about that, like, getting things moving, getting some momentum behind you, and then seeing how far you can carry that.
But you're right, hon. At Rock Solid Families, we believe that it's mind, body, and spirit, and they are all interconnected. And we do have several clients here that deal with some chronic illnesses that are full of pain and agony and daily struggles. And so that just affects everything. It affects relationships, it affects attitude, it affects hopefulness. So we definitely want to really make sure we include fitness and our health of our bodies involved in what we do.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors here. I first want to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency. They have built a reputation in business on caring, listening, and protecting their customers. Mansfield Insurance Agency began in 1981 by Jim Mansfield and is dedicated to serving the individuals and businesses in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So if you have an insurance need, call Mansfield Insurance Agency at 800-230-3927.
Yeah. We also want to thank Maxwell Construction. Maxwell Construction was founded in 1988 by John Maxwell, and since that time, Maxwell Construction has grown and expanded to become one of the most recognized commercial construction companies in the tri-state area. What separates Maxwell from their competition is their emphasis on being service-oriented to help meet the needs of their customers. So whether it's a school, hospital, restaurant, apartment center, retail center, Maxwell is able to meet your needs. So call Maxwell today at 1-812-537-2200.
All right. So very good. So let's talk about a couple of announcements just so that we make sure we get everything covered here. Our Strong Dads is up and running. I'm kind of at that point where if somebody wanted to join my Strong Dads, you need to call me because I try to close that off just for protecting the confidentiality of the smaller group that we form there. But there are all, I take it as the call would come in, and if somebody could really benefit and the group would be okay, we'd get you right in there. But with that being said, we'll be starting another round of Strong Dads later, more springtime.
Sure.
So that we try to do 3 or 4 sessions a year.
And I love seeing men gather together and do a little sweat. If you haven't heard about Strong Dads, it's 45 minutes of a workout, regardless of what your level of fitness is, and then 45 minutes of a study that's really focused on how to be a strong dad. So it is just so cool. I'm just going to tell you, hon, it's sexy to see you just gather with other men and talk about how can I be a better dad? How can I be a better husband? So it is very, very cool to see. As well as our regular classes, hon. We do fitness classes here in our office 6 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 8 a.m. is a class that I teach. And then, hon, you teach Tuesday, Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. and then a 9 o'clock class on Saturday morning. So you have no excuses as we talk.
That's right.
If you don't know where to start, we would love to help you. And hon, I don't know if our listeners know, you are actually a certified personal trainer.
Right. So, what does that mean? Well, one thing that means is that I've got a very genuine interest in fitness and just health. That's kind of what you can vouch for me there. I probably spend you might spend a ton of time reading certain things, whether it's magazines or Bibles or whatever. I gravitate towards really 2 areas, fitness type stuff or building stuff.
Well, you gravitate to the Bible too.
I know, but that's not my go-to. Okay,
well,
that
should be your go-to.
No, that's my mechanical. So, in other words, it's my habit that I had to create. But if there's 15 books laying on the table and I have to choose one, I would probably choose something in the fitness or building.
Thank you for being honest.
And that's part of it. And I think that's part of the conversation too, that faith is not always like natural. You have to build faith. And
you have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional. And in fact, that's the word we're going to really focus on today is the intentional. For me, in the fitness side, it's natural. That does not mean I'm an athlete or a bodybuilder or anything like that. That does not mean that, okay? To go to that level, we're talking about pairing up your genetics with your natural tendencies.
Yeah, I think about, hun, when we were...
Don't make fun of me.
No. I'm just thinking about when we were first dating, and I think you were kind of looking for a woman that could be a life workout partner, and that was not me. I was a college athlete that played a sport, volleyball, but I did not have the passion. I mean, running to me was painful. It was not fun. I did not do it for enjoyment. Where if you had an hour, you were out going for a run, going for a bike ride, going for a swim. And I'm thinking, why would you want to do that? Like that? Yeah. So you're right. The wiring is very different, and I appreciate how you're wired, and I definitely know we're a little different.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, too, that to not beat yourself up either way. I think there was a frustration early on in our marriage from both sides, you wondering, why does he always want to do this? And me wondering, why doesn't she want to do this?
Right.
And, as we've kind of grown in our marriage and grown in just general maturity, there is a difference between just a talent or a gift or a desire, natural desire, versus like, okay, I know this is good for me, so I need to do it.
Yeah.
And neither's right or wrong.
Yeah. Remember, hun, when you and I did a biathlon together? I
do remember that.
We won a little prize.
I think you may have cursed me that day. I think
we kind of discovered that. And racing in that area, fitness is not my thing. But but
like you said, I remember we won first place in our category, so that was pretty cool.
Oh goodness! But I was not a happy camper.
Yeah,
it was not a fun thing for me.
So anyway, let's talk a little bit about. We laughed about at the top of the show about the idea. Okay, we've already had people start their New Year's resolutions and stop, and now they're already trying to get back on them again. Last year, we did a show on health and fitness around this similar time, and we talked about, setting goals and things like that. And we know, we know that these things fall apart a lot. Okay. Just like reading the Bible. I'm going to read the Bible every day, or I'm going to read a book, or I'm going to eat right. And it tends to fall apart unless it's just of your wiring.
Our son wanted to give up pop again. He had done that for a whole year. And so he was talking a couple days before New Year's how he was going to do that again. He lasted till January 1st. Yeah. And we were out at a restaurant or something, and he all of a sudden is getting pop. And he's like, I told you I was just thinking about that. So that didn't last very long.
Yeah. So so let's talk a little bit about why do we fail? Well, because if we don't understand why we fail, then the whole expression of I'm going to get fit and healthy and all this stuff, it just falls short. Right. And then we get frustrated. And we've talked about before that, the older we get, the less people make New Year's resolutions because they're just tired of the failures that come from them. So the one thing I want to talk about is being mechanical. If fitness is not your thing, then we're really going to be talking about how we become mechanical in the process. And when
Habits.
I say mechanical, I'm talking step by step. I'm talking intentional. The idea that I'm not going to work to be a professional athlete. I'm just going to put something on my plate each day that puts me thinking and doing towards this goal that we may have talked about earlier.
Right.
Okay?
That's why, we do teach classes 6 days a week, and 3 of those days are mine. And so I am so thankful that those days are on the calendar. There has been some times when it's been snowing or something and no one will show up. And I'm confessing, I crawl back in bed or I go to my desk and I work. I don't go, oh, yes, I can make my own workout today.
Yeah, now I do. That's weird.
I know.
I come up, nobody shows up to a class, and I'm like, great, I'm going to get a chance to work out. So,
yeah, I mean, that's the different wiring there. I'm like, yes, I'm off the hook. And you're like, oh, but that's just, we have to make mechanical.
Right. And so recognizing that, I think, is important. And if you're one of the folks that said, oh, it's always been hard for me, then we really want to tackle that a little bit first today. We want to talk about your wiring. We want to talk about how to set you up for some success. All right. Yeah. So the very first thing we really take a look at is we want to talk about some lifestyle. We want to talk about, well, what are you currently doing? And where is the area that we can start to tweak, that we can change, that we can make you more mindful of movement, of exercise. Okay. Yeah. And when we talk about this, some of these things are just no-brainers. Like, we need to change them. Okay. If you you're erratic with sleep, you eat like total junk food all the time, those are kind of like, yeah, we need to start working on that. Okay. But some of them are things that you're like, well, it's always worked for me, so why do I want to change it? And so we really want to just take a look at your overall lifestyle and see, you can kind of look at the pie chart of the hours of the day, excuse me, and how you're spending those.
Yeah. And hon, this isn't just about working out. This is also, like you said, health and fitness. So eating right. So, back in May, I made a conscious decision that I was not going to eat after dinner. That was a bad habit of mine. It was a comfort food. I was doing it when I was stressed, when I was tired, when I was bored. And so you and I had a really bad habit to sitting down. We'd watch the news that we taped, and then we would eat something. And so starting in May, I said, I'm done. But man, the first couple months, I was sitting down next to you, and you were still eating.
I didn't jump on your wagon yet, so I was still doing my old habit.
Oh, my gosh. And you would have peanut butter or something, and I would smell it, and I was like, you're killing me. But I was committed, and now, it would have been awesome and easier probably if we had done that together, so we would have hold each other accountable. So I was really thankful that, in the summer you kind of said, or maybe early fall, I forget, you said, you're right, I need to do that too. And so it makes it a ton easier now. I don't even think about it.
Right.
Because no one is doing that.
And I just, just to kind of encourage you. So you started that, nothing drastic in terms of, whether I'm going to go on the paleo diet or I'm going to go keto or anything like that. You just said, no, I'm going to make a lifestyle change.
Yep.
And from the time that you started that till now, which has been maybe
6-7 months.
7 months, you've lost 23 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I picked up on board sometime in probably August, September.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I've lost over 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And again, so the important part is just this, like, okay, where can I get the low hanging fruit?
Yeah.
And where can I change my lifestyle habit in a way that's not going to like totally rock my world and put me into shock that I can't sustain?
Yeah. And honestly, I've gone up and down and tried diets and stuff before, but I wanted to make a lifestyle change, not just because the weight. I could tell I was getting highs and lows. I'd have sugar high. I don't eat till lunch. So I do this 12 to 8, I guess intermittent fasting, some people call it. But honestly, I ate like junk I'm not a big breakfast eater. So I was eating something real high carb and just, would shoot me up and then crash me down. And then the same thing at night. And so 12 to 8, I've changed my appetite. My appetite is under control. I'm not shooting high and low with my blood sugar, and I feel so much better. So it's not just about the weight. It's more about how I feel. Yeah. And that's a great habit to keep.
So as we talk about this, I think it's a good on-ramp on to talking about blood sugar. And so we're going to talk about fitness here in a little bit in terms of the actual exercise, but the fitness in terms of dieting part of it, you can do all the exercise you want, but if you don't control what you put in your mouth.
That's been my problem.
Yeah. I mean, you can be as strong as a horse, but if you don't control what goes in your mouth, you're always going to have that weight problem or that excess fat or whatever. And so that is a component that when you're 16 years old, you don't have to think about. But when you're 46 or 56
you can
years
have
old,
4 Mountain Dews a day.
Yeah, it's a very real thing. So understanding that a lot of these crazy habits we get into when it concerns diet is so blood sugar related. And so I want to go back to what you said before about the intermittent fasting. Okay. So I'm working with a folk right now that is, he's diabetic and he's overweight. And his body goes crazy with blood sugar, up and down, and he's so it's kind of cool in that he's got a monitor, so we can actually see in real time, like, whoa, I'm trending up, I'm trending down, and the point that he's always been frustrated, saying, I can't lose weight, lose weight, and when we studied and talked a little bit, and I just got to interview him more, and really came to find out that his immediate go-to food was always a carb.
Yep.
Okay? And so his body never learned how to burn anything but carbs or sugars. Okay?
Right.
And so we talk about the idea of, okay, wait, you're going to have to like reset this. And so we started him on a slow intermittent fasting. And what that means is that he used to always run the snack thing around 8 o'clock at night or whatever, and then he'd always eat a breakfast and that kind of thing. We just looked at his, and from his snack in the evening to his breakfast, we could easily get over 1,000 calories. Yeah. Okay. And so we said, okay, let's not do the snack. Let's not, I first said you can't eat after 9 o'clock at night. And then I said, okay, now we're going to roll that back. You can't eat after 8 o'clock. So we kind of rolled it back slowly. All right. Because I know that when we've tried stuff like this before, you say, okay, I'm not eating after dinner. Yeah. You last about 3 days, and because the symptoms overwhelm you or the cravings.
Right.
And so we pulled him back slowly. And so now he is, it's taken him about 5 or 6 weeks. Now he's not eating at all after dinner. Okay.
Wow,
and
awesome.
when we woke up in the morning, we said, okay, we want to wait. We want to get this window longer, because the longer we get this window, the less sugar we have to burn. Right. And the body goes, okay, no sugar, so I got to use some fat. Right. So we start to convert that. And so we started at first saying he couldn't eat anything until around 9:30 in the morning. And he usually gets up around 6 or so. And then we backed it off to like 10:30. And so now we're at lunchtime. And so now we've got him not eating and feeling fine.
I was going to say, his wife just said just this week that he has been feeling awesome. And he has got so much energy and so much hopefulness. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, and it is so cool. And so he's dropping weight without like, oh, this is killing me every minute of the day, because we're really just retraining his body. We're allowing it to do something that it's made to do. Yeah. You know the coolest thing about this? His insulin usage is down now. He used to take between 80 to over 100 units of insulin every day. Wow. And last week when we talked, he had taken 8 in a week.
Wow.
In a week.
In a week?
In a week.
Wow.
Okay.
That is amazing.
So I only state this not because I'm an expert in the diet part of it, but to state like, okay, your body is really equipped to do a lot of great things for you, but old habits, bad habits really can get you believing that you can't do something.
Right. And emotionally, again, we're talking mind, body, and spirit. Emotionally, I am not having those highs and those lows, those crashes, feeling like I need to take a nap, feeling like I'm going to chew my arm off,
or mine.
Or chew your head off. I don't know. But it just is amazing how that just makes you feel and your perspective changes. Yeah. So it's great stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And so then we started to introduce some exercise to him. So now we've cut out just by lifestyle change, we've cut out close to 1,000 calories daily, and we've picked up where he's doing 200 to 400 calorie burning in different sessions that we do per day, whether he's actually working with me or we say, hey, go out and go for a walk.
He says he's feeling more energy to go to the gym and, run on the treadmill, walk on the treadmill or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, so a statement that he made is, the longest he's ever walked on a treadmill in the last, 5, 6, 7 years since he's really become overweight is about 12 minutes. And he thought it was going to kill him. His back, his everything. And now he's up to about a half hour.
Oh, my gosh. That is amazing.
Yeah. So the point just being this is doable, but you have to wrap your head around it and turn it into something that's mechanical if it's not natural for you. In other words, you have to lay it out in little steps, something that you can actually manage, and that it's not going to totally rock your world every time you try it.
Or you'll give up.
Yeah, you'll give up. It's exhausting and it's frustrating.
I think also, hon, what we've been saying too is you got to have some accountability. You got to tell somebody. I think the coolest thing about our classes is that we look forward to seeing each other. We encourage one another. We ask each other when we don't see them, hey, where are you at? When are you coming back? So there's a little bit of that, hey, I'm not doing this alone kind of feel that is really important.
Well, and so that gets me to the exercise part of this. Okay, so we talked earlier about some of us are just naturally gravitate towards exercise. To be honest with you, I would be perfectly content exercising with no one.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone to do that. I don't. In fact, a lot of times it's even better for me to not exercise with somebody. I like
that's
to
because
do
it's
that.
your wiring.
It's my wiring. Okay, but being mechanical in the sense of it's not my wiring, but I know it's important. So that's where our classes come into play. That's where, whether it's our classes at finishing, our finishing classes at Rock Solid Families, or whether you join the local gym, I don't care. I'm not trying to make a sales pitch for any of them.
Right.
It's your accountability.
Right.
So going in and signing up. If you really feel like you're challenged to keep this, then that's where a personal trainer comes in.
Yeah.
Okay. That always kind of like made me think, why does anybody need a personal trainer? But I understand now, if somebody's not wired that way, they need somebody knocking on them saying, hey, let's go. It's
and
your
help
day.
them to set up healthy habits, not forever, but to help them set up healthy habits where they will feel like they could do this on their own.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I function in any personal training that I do. I mean, my goal, I feel like it's not quite right. I mean, unless I was actually talking about a professional athlete where we really were trying to fine tune and get to the highest level. I would not feel comfortable keeping somebody coming to me as a personal trainer for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
because part of my job, I feel like, is to equip them
Right.
to make this mechanical process natural
And
so that they don't need me.
Yeah, and we feel that way about life coaching as well. When we do marriage and family coaching, we're not here to keep you on the hook till Jesus returns. We're here to equip you and train you and empower you to do this on your own, because really it's the Lord leading you to be that person that makes those changes.
And most everyone we work with has the ability to do
Absolutely.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
and so don't cut yourself short.
Yeah.
You have that ability. Just you need a little bit of prompting and maybe some education and encouragement early on. Okay. All right, so the first thing is being that mindfulness, being intentional about it. I also think it's really important to recognize your weak zones. Okay, we talked about, in last year's show, I talked about the immediate comfort zone. In other words, what will you do when you're tired or you're, as you've talked about before, hangry?
Yeah.
When you're in that moment, what's your go-to?
I would eat.
Yeah, and so you have to recognize that in yourself. And then you have to build your new lifestyle in a way that does everything you can to stay away from that.
Hun, I knew I was stressed and I needed to make some changes when I was driving through the Wendy's drive-through after work and they were starting to know my name and know my order. Like, that's not good. I have friends that have a whole smorgasbord in their back of their car of all these wrappers and all of these bags and things from McDonald's and Arby's. And if that's what your car looks like, you got to make some changes.
Yeah, you do. And again, I mean, no candy coat in that one. It's like, okay, it's time to change.
Yeah.
And so let's get it done. Another thing I want to talk about before we actually even get into talking about some of the exercises, sleep. I've read some really interesting stuff here. Information kind of comes, ebbs and flows. And right now there's a lot of hot discussion going on about sleep. And, I think this is stuff that just like you and I talk about parenting. Parenting's been around forever, but all of a sudden it takes these ebbs and flows of news and right ways and stuff. And it's like, no, just go back to what you really know.
Go back to the basics, right.
And if you never used an alarm clock, what would your body naturally do? And and what the science says is that your body naturally seeks out about 8 hours.
Yeah.
And so to keep it in there, and the research is becoming more and more, they just talk about sleep just being a passive time. And what they're finding is that it's actually the time that your brain, like your muscles, when your muscles are active, they create waste product. Okay. And that waste product, lactic acid and things like that, have to be slowly filtered away from the muscle so that the muscle can basically be rejuvenated. Yeah. Okay. Brain cells are the same way.
Yeah.
And we know that through excessive work, which a nerve cell actually can burn quite a bit of energy, it creates waste. And that waste has to have time to filter itself out. All right. And so there's actually lots of research that's starting to show connections with dementia and Alzheimer's to people who had regular patterns of 6 hours or less sleep.
Oh, wow.
All right. And so that's becoming stronger and stronger. And they're really talking about one of the best things you can do for your overall health is 8 hours.
Yeah. And hon, that's not just for adults, kids. Oh my gosh. I am so passionate about the screen time issue and the lack of sleep our kids are getting. And we have parents that are dealing with, they think, some behavior issues and some academic issues. And it really stems from the sleeplessness, the sleep deprivation that they're getting because we're letting kids have the screens late at night in their room. We have no idea how much sleep deprivation our kids are getting.
Yeah.
And we've got to do a better job, not just for ourselves, but for our kids.
Yeah. It's, I think that we just talked about before, like the information and knowledge coming out on sleep seems to be at a high point. The information coming out on screen time is starting to surge, and it's the next 10 years. We really talked about this before, the idea that it's probably going to turn into government
something regulated,
intervening with, okay, we need to have some laws. It's how dangerous some of this stuff is.
By the way, we have some recent articles on our Facebook page of Rock Solid Families. Check that out because the research is coming in pretty strong about the connection between sleep and behavior.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about exercise too. So this is a vital component of movement is really what helps the fluids move. It helps move waste out of the body. It also makes the nervous system be stimulated to the muscular system, and that reminds the muscle, hey, you need to keep staying strong because we need you. And so the old phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it, is extremely true in fitness and in health. And so, people ask me all the time about, well, what exercise should I do? And, I mean, that is a hard question in the sense of people want a specific, should I do this or that? And here's the first answer to that. You do what you like to do. Okay.
And what you're going to keep doing.
Yeah. Because if you don't like it, going and lifting heavy weights or running marathons, if you don't like those things, then it's not going to work. Right. And I've listened to so many different people talk about, well, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. There's a big group of exercise folks that say endurance athletes and cardio exercise like that is a waste of time. And I'm telling you, no, I don't buy that. And I don't buy it because for that group of people,
it's working.
It works. It's what motivates them. It gets them moving. Okay. There are risks to those exercises, just as there are risks to heavy weightlifting. Okay. And so the point being here is what do you gravitate towards? Once you kind of realize, I like to play games, like you like to play volleyball. So your exercise really might be more suited for, I'm not going to go and do an actual workout routine as much as a couple of days a week. I'm going to go play volleyball.
Right. And after, my volleyball days, I love to dance. And so Zumba became really popular. And, to keep moving, I'm not a runner. I don't like to run. I get sick when I run.
Yeah.
So that's not for me. But, exercise class, aerobics, whatever, something. But don't you think, variety is the important thing too? You can't do one thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So one of the problems, and this is a problem that I actually am challenged with, is repetitiveness. I don't tend to get too stale. I can do it, but I do you wear things out.
Right.
And so,
injury.
we teach our finishing classes, which are awesome because we do a lot of variety and movement, but it still is the same type of motion. And so I love taking breaks from doing the exercise that we do almost daily to like, oh man, I'm going bike riding or I'm going to go hiking or I'm going to do something different. So variety is important. And that's why, it's one of those things. Pick 2 or 3 things that you like to do. Pick the things that are easiest for you to get to and accomplish each day. All right. And once you do that, then start to build any kind of program around that. Okay. A couple of basic things, strength workout is, in which we talk about as resistance training. You have to lift some weight. And so in our workout, we actually call that load. We're going to put load on the body. If you don't put load on the body, you will lose strength, especially after we get over the age of 30 to 40 years old. We'll start to really notice that our body says, well, I don't need this strength, so I'm not going to maintain it.
Which, by the way, they really loved your load workout today. Whew.
That was a good one.
Oh my goodness,
that was a good one. Yeah,
they were speaking your name in not very nice ways. I said, don't shoot the messenger.
That's why I gave you that workout to do. And so we should do some strength training 2 to 3 days a week, or in other words, lifting load, putting load on our body. Strength comes from putting a little bit more weight on the bar. Okay, the cardio part. The research is becoming more and more clear that cardio is important. And so the idea of cardio is that we get our heart rate beating somewhere above 60% of its max, okay, or somewhere 60% or higher. And so how do I know what my max is? Well, a real simple formula there is to take 220 and subtract your age. So take 220, if I'm...
Why 220?
220 is considered like the max.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay? And so with each year, we actually drop our capability of making that heart beat a little faster. So like if you're, simple math here, 220, I'm 55 years old, I take
You're
220.
55?
No, but if I were, I like even
if you pretend.
Simple numbers. And so that's 165 beats per minute, okay? And so then at that point, if I'm like, okay, I need 60%, I need to be above 60% of my max, Okay, well, that's about 99 beats per minute. So I need to be able to do something like that for 20 or 30 minutes a day. All right, we're talking about through the course of a week, we're looking at about 150 minutes a week is what the science is saying supports good cardio health. Okay. The other thing is movement training. Just movement, just the idea that you have your joints can move in the planes that they're designed to move in.
Don't you think the older we get to, the more we need this? I think our older class really is enjoying that. It's important.
If I did this show 10 years ago, I don't think I would have put anything in about movement training. But I think, because it's becoming real with me, I never even, when you're 20 years old, stretching is for the old folks. And then all of a sudden you are one. And so now stretching and mobility and stability and balance, all of these things really come into play. And so part of your workout should be just, are you hitting ranges of motion? There's really 4 basic moves that everything kind of builds around, and that is a squat. So somehow you're bending through the hip and the knee. There's the hip hinge where you're bending at your hip. There is the whole press where you're pressing and pulling with the arms. And then there's what we call a transverse, which is rotational. And so these are some basic movement patterns that if you want to know more about, you can look that up. But a lot of it depends on just, you need to work the areas that you feel like you struggle in.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So lots of different stuff that we are running through here. And so,
hon, what about a gym? Joining a gym?
So this kind of goes back to what we said before. What resources do you have at your fingertips? If you have the equipment in your home, or you just like to go out and walk, and you're motivated to do those things, then honestly, I'd say don't waste the money for the gym. Okay. And again, this is all about, are you meeting the need at the level that you want? Okay. With that being said, if you do not have equipment and you need a little bit of that atmosphere, okay, then by all means, I mean, that's why we offer what we offer.
Right.
Okay. By all means, come in, because 1, we're coaching, and 2, we have those folks coming in, and they actually are all like small group now.
Yeah, it's
they come in and they harass each other and they laugh and they tease, but that is something that they enjoy coming into each day they show up.
So, hon, let's do some homework. We got to wrap up here. We could talk about this. You could talk about this, especially for days.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool that you are a personal trainer. If someone is interested to maybe set up a time with you, but give them some homework.
All right, so the very first thing we want to do is we want to talk about what area in this new year, what area do I really want to improve on? And be, is it your sleep area? Is it your nutrition? Is it your recovering? Like, am I giving myself enough rest? And rest is different than sleep, okay? Rest is just the absence of that physical work that we're doing. And so, like, if I'm a runner and I'm running 7 days a week, I have to rest from that activity, okay? Do I want to build strength? Do I want to work mobility? Do I want to work balance? So what are an area or 2 that you want to focus on, okay? And then we talked about before being mechanical. And so my challenge to you is find that area that you really want to hone in on. And I want you to think about how you mechanically are going to put small portions of that into your day. And when I say small because I want you to be able to actually maintain it.
Right?
Yeah. And
you want it to become a habit, basically.
Right. And so if it's, let's just say it's balance, okay? Like as we've gotten older, we trip a little more. We want to grab the handrail a little bit more. So there are a ton of different balance drills out there. And so, you know what? For 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening, or at lunchtime, or when I get up from my desk, I'm going to do these balance drills. Okay. It's something I can do I don't need equipment or anything. I can do balance drills. Okay. And I'm going to start to do those every day.
Or maybe it's not eating after dinner, like we talked about.
Right. And so that's the other one. We talked about nutrition. So and again, with the nutrition part, maybe you're able to say, I'm not going to eat after dinner. But if you keep failing, I want you to wind it back
Back it
slowly.
up, yeah.
So that because you're failing, because your body's sending out all kinds of signals saying, hey, it's dinner,
Right.
it's after dinner, it's time for our snack.
Right.
So wind it back slowly, take a week or so to get it back, and then
Right.
you'll be locked in.
So, take a breath, honey, because
Woo!
like I said, you could go on all day. So the point is to do something small that you can sustain to make it a habit. It may be mechanical, it may be hard and forceful, but try to surround yourself with an accountability, some support, encouragement. We would love to help at Rock Solid Families. But, hon, before we sign off, we want to thank again our sponsors for their support of Rock Solid Radio. A huge thank you to Mansfield Insurance Agency, Maxwell Construction for their financial support. Both companies believe in this mission of strong and healthy families, and they want to invest back in their community. So please let them know you're listening and appreciate their partnership in this important ministry. Hun, anything else? Final words?
Yeah, I mean, if you have questions in this line and if you're looking to clean up an area in your life, give us a call. Give me a call over at 812-576-7625 or ROCK, and give us a call. Let's have some conversation. As far as personal training things go, you can contact me through email at hutch@rocksolidfamilies.org. So reach out to us. We'd love to help you, and let's make 2020 a better, more healthy year.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard on today's show, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency. If you have questions you'd like answered on our show or you want to chime in on something you heard, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merrill and I, thanks for tuning in to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time.